My guest on the program will be able to respond to your question. My name is Kelvin Dabola Chief Focal, and this is The Furnace. Now, he's one of the first televangelists this country has ever produced. At one time, he even served as a Republican vice president to the third Republican president, the late Levi Patrick Mwanawasa. He is the current leader of the New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, MMD, the party that was in power for 20 years. Dr. Neva Sekwila Mumba is my guest on tonight's edition of The Furnace. Doc, good evening and welcome to The Furnace.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to a great program tonight. And I hope that disfiguring our face with the masks does not hide our smiles away from the people.
Indeed. I should say Happy New Year. Maybe this is the first program that we're having on this year, 2021.
Definitely, yes. This is the first program I'm having with you since the year began. So, Happy New Year to you, Kelvin.
First of all, let's begin with the issue of COVID. Your message to Zambians, and like you've put it, we are now putting on masks, and maybe even if I'm smiling, you can't tell. It's your message to people.
Well, first of all, I just want to commend those Zambians that have consistently observed the health regulations in social distancing and masking. The issue of this pandemic is not a joke. It is something that has taken a lot of our beloved ones. We have lost people very close to us as a result of this pandemic. So it is real in the midst of us. We have prayed as the church. We are grateful that God is answering our prayer. The numbers are going down, and we'll continue to thank God for Him answering prayer for us as a country. But even with God coming through for us, there are certain expectations that God has from us, and that is to take care of ourselves, that we do not contract this disease. So we continue to encourage every Zambian, do not drop your guard. The enemy is still within the compound. The enemy called COVID-19 is within the compound. So do not drop your guard. Let's keep observing the social distancing, the masking, and make sure that we protect our neighbors.
That is my guest on tonight's program. And we are looking at MMD 2021 and beyond, the roadmap. Doc, you are the president of a party that was in power for 20 years. And now it is called a New Hope Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. What sort of hope or new hope you are trying to bring to the Zambian people?
First of all, I had to take into consideration, together with my colleagues in the party, that there was a reason why the Zambian people did not vote for MMD in 2011. We had to take ourselves to a seminar where we really asked ourselves the difficult questions. Where did we go wrong? What is it that the Zambians did not like about the movement for multi-party democracy? We did that because there's no reason for us to take the same MMD that they had, in inverted commas, rejected in the election of 2011 and present it back into the hands of Zambians to vote on it again without making major changes and reforms that are going to satisfy the Zambian voter that, yes, this is the MMD that was there, but it's a transformed MMD. So we decided that the new hope that we're going to offer is, first of all, to confirm the fact that, yes, MMD brought democracy, multi-party democracy in this country. And secondly, MMD, under our leadership, provided one of the healthiest economic environments that we've had in a long time, especially under the late Levi Patrick Mwanawasa, whom I had the pleasure of deputizing as vice president. So we do have a history as MMD of great success, history of truly putting money in people's pockets, a history where the commodity prices were affordable to the Zambian people, including the milimi, which is our staple food. We made sure that this was available to the ordinary Zambian. So the Zambians remember that MMD. But there is something that they didn't like about the MMD towards the end. They accused us of being corrupt. They accused us of being arrogant or arrogance in power. And it was my responsibility as a new president to assure the Zambian people that we are going to depart from the things they did not like, and we are ready to pay the highest price to reform and make ourselves a new movement. And this is where the New Hope tag came from, that they have a new leader, a leader that is known in this country as a servant of God who has dedicated 44 years of his life to public life to ensure that Zambia gets better. With my life dream, long dream of Zambia shall be saved. So they do know that Nevers Mumba is committed to the vision of this country, that I am committed to ensuring that their lives are improved, given a chance to lead this country.
We are in 2021, and come 12th of August, Zambians will be going to the polls to elect the president, the members of parliament, and the councillors, as well as council chairpersons. Is the New Hope movement for multi-party democracy ready this time around, 2021, to participate in an election? Because we did see you in 2016, you didn't participate. Is the New Hope ready to take part or participate in the elections of this year?
We've had 14 months of underground work, which we call, we call the Operation Zimaningi. We have spent the last 14 months since we had that memorable victory at the High Court, and the party was squarely brought back under our leadership. We have used that time to ensure that we prepare the party at all levels, from the branches, coming out to the wards, coming up to constituencies, going all the way to districts, provinces, and now we have reached the level of the National Executive Committee that is now going to take the entire party nationwide to the convention next weekend. So I think that we have done our work. We know that there are a lot of our members that have already expressed interest to stand in different constituencies and in wards. We will announce officially when the nominations are going to start to take place at their constituency levels as they submit their names. But firstly, our eyes are on the convention, and the moment we're through with that, we are going to have the nomination date for those that are going to stand.
I know that you've touched the issue of after that judgment, you've been, putting the party in order, and it is enshrined in the Constitution that each and every political party should hold intra-party elections. Can you tell us, have you succeeded in holding elections at ward level, constituency level, district and province before you talk about the convention that you'll be having next week?
Well, we can't be holding the convention without having done that part. So it is in our interest to ensure that the grassroots is strong, the grassroots is ready. So yes, of course, we have done our homework in that, and that is why we have got 1,600 delegates that are going to come to, or rather be present for the convention.
These were elected by members of the party?
Of course,
or were
yes.
just appointed by you as the president?
These were elected. I can't appoint 1,600 people. No, these are people that are elected at their different levels of the party.
So, at the moment, we can say the New Hope is ready for the convention because the Electoral College is going to be formed. There are new people, new office bearers at ward level up to the province.
Correct. Yes, they are ready now. We would not have announced the convention if we're not ready with our members of the Electoral College.
Today, when you talk about the New Hope movement for multi-party democracy, the person that is a leader is Nevers Mumba, and we don't hear any other name that this is the man that is trying to challenge Dr. Mumba at the convention. Is it now a one-man party kind of a thing, or people are scared to challenge you at the convention, or there are others that have shown interest to challenge you at the convention?
Well, first of all, I try to answer the questions as they come. I don't try to get into your mind to see whether that question is in good faith, because that's not really the idea for the interview. We just had a convention by the UPND, and President Hakainde Hichilema went unopposed. You're aware of that. And we are going to have a convention by the PF, and we've already heard from the different provinces that have endorsed the President, President Lungu, as the sole candidate. I think that in our situation as MMD, the reason why, in fact, the nominations closed yesterday for all those who have been applying for the, to run at the convention, and my name has gone on unopposed. And the reason for that is, there are many reasons for that. Reason number one is that it's my midterm. Usually in the MMD, when a president is in the first term, it's an easy sell through to the second term. Secondly, the fact that there's no one who came up that they wanted to challenge my leadership is also an affirmation of the fact that they would like us to continue to reorganize the party to the levels that is going to be a formidable party. So the membership felt that they needed to give me their support. The provinces, each one of the provinces, collectively sent their message of solidarity and endorsement for my election as president. And as of yesterday, when FODEP received the nominations, the commissioners received the nominations, there was no one who was challenging the presidency. So in effect, I went unopposed, but we are still going to the convention where the process of ratification of all that is going to take place.
With three, I should call them three biggest political parties, the UPND, you've mentioned their leader went unopposed. With the PF, there are indicators that are showing that he also might go unopposed. And now the party that was in power for 20 years has also gone unopposed. How do you summarize this? Does it mean people have got confidence in the incumbents, or it's lack of people, or issues to do with dictatorship within the party?
No, I think each political party has got its own reasons for that. I have given our reasons as the MMD. MMD has gone through one of the most challenging seasons. And if it was not for strong leadership, there would be no MMD to talk about today. But I think the membership of the party, you must remember that when I took over the leadership of our political party, the MMD had just gone through a frustrating loss in 2011. There was a lot of fear in the party because the late President Michael Sata was quite fierce against the movement for multi-party democracy. And therefore, there was really no movement in the party per se, and very few people could fight for that political party. Although I came from being a civil servant in Canada as a high commissioner, I was not even dubbed to be one of the front runners of the race. But the members of our party were determined to give fresh blood to the party, a fresh face to the party. Somebody was not there when all this happened of the loss of the party. And that is why I won with 70% of the vote in that convention. And my commitment to the membership was that I will not disappoint you. I was aware that the job I had taken was going to be a difficult job, because I'm going to lead people that have never left power for 20 years. They don't know opposition politics. They don't know opposition suffering. They don't know the pain of being in the opposition. And that load was given to me on my shoulders to make sure that I navigate a dispirited, fearful, and afraid organization to a future where they can even think about themselves as a formidable thing. So we fought up until today through many things that you yourself have described as court cases, people trying to remove us from leadership, being brought back by the authorities of the jurisdiction of the law. And we have come this far, and members of our party are convinced that when it comes to leadership, when it comes to resilience, when it comes to toughness as a leader, Nevers is the leader to go with. Because the way I fought resiliently for this political organization against all odds, they believe that when I fight for Zambia, it will be with the same spirit, the same determination to make sure that Zambia is the #1 country on this continent. And I'm determined to do that.
With the issues of the court cases, yes, you've been to the courts of law. Can we say the members of the New Hope movement for multi-party democracy are being sympathetic with their leader to say, because of all these years where they were fighting legal battles, it is just wise for us to be sympathetic with our leader by not challenging him, but just allowing him to serve the new mandate that we're
No, I don't think so. I think the opposite is true. I don't think members of our party are interested in being sympathetic with any leader. They want a leader that can fight for them, a leader that can speak for them, a leader that can articulate issues intelligently, a leader that can make them proud, both at home and abroad, a leader that, given the authority to run the affairs of this country, will not miss a heartbeat, because I've been there when I was vice president, worked closely with one of the most successful former presidents of our country. So our membership are very comfortable with the fact that my leadership did not start yesterday in this country. My leadership in public service is 44 years. If you combine the church and the 24 years that I've served in the political arena, there's comfort there that Nevers Mumba, when he talks, he knows what he's talking about. They know the type of politics I want to bring. And the fights that are leveled against me are basically there because I don't do the politics that others would do of insulting others, but we make sure that we concentrate on matters and issues that will improve the quality of life of all Zambians.
You've talked about the vision of Zambia shall be saved, and I'm happy that that vision has never died, and I don't think it will die. And you've talked about you being a man of God, a God-fearing man. Do you think Zambians at the moment are ready to be led by a God-fearing man or by a pastor?
I think Zambia has been ready for a long time. Let me tell you something. I think Zambians, Christians in this country, who represent almost 97.3%, Christians in this country have seen how their brother, Nevers Mumba, has been treated in the political arena. And all the Christian leaders before, they thought that it was because there was something I was doing that was not proper. But now they are convinced that the fight against Nevers Mumba is a fight against righteousness to be on the throne. And the moment they're realizing this, we are seeing such a great response from the church for the first time that we have declared Zambia a Christian nation. We also have the president once in a year presenting to Parliament, renewing the values of this country, which are based on biblical principles. We have in October a day of prayer and fasting as a nation. The foundations, Kelvin, the foundations and the pillars for a Christian nation are firmly in the ground. So as we go to the 7th president, which is a very biblical number, Christians now understand Zambia is ready for a pastor who knows God to now take hold of all this infrastructure that has been put in place, the declaration of Zambia as a Christian nation, the national values that have been introduced, a day that has been set aside for prayer and fasting. These are the foundations upon which I'll base my leadership as a source of the value for our country. Yes, to answer the question, Zambians are ready for a servant of God because this country belongs to God and we gave it to God willingly ourselves and declare it a Christian nation. And I don't think, Kelvin, you would see any contradiction in a Christian leader leading a Christian nation. I think even the rhyming of the word sounds correct. A Christian leader in charge of a Christian nation. So you cannot want one and reject the other. We just want to be a Christian nation without Christian leadership. I think that we have come to the place where we can comfortably say the Zambians are ready.
There are so many pastors who are running political parties in Zambia at the moment. We've seen a bishop showing interest to take up the leadership of the UNIP. We have UPPZ under a pastor. We have NCP, a pastor also. What gives you the confidence this time around, looking at this pastor in the name of Nevers Mumba, who was rejected in 2001, who was rejected in 2015? What is it that has changed now for Zambians to believe in this pastor whom they have rejected before?
I like the word rejected. First of all, let me give you the history. Let me start with the pastors that you've talked about. I am very honored as Nevers Mumba to see other pastors rising up to take up the challenge of politics. It was never heard of before I started this journey. So I'm thankful to God that we have Bishop, the Bishop who is a friend of mine, Bishop Mumba, who is vying for the presidency of UNIP. I'm very grateful to God for him. And I'm grateful for other Shimunzi, who is also Shimunza, who is also a president of a political party. I'm happy for Kalaba, who is also a Christian leader in his own right. It is changing. Zambia needs as many believers as possible. It is true. I'm the most senior in this journey that I'm taking. And therefore, I do not have a problem with other Christians coming in. In fact, it's been my prayer. I will not always be there. I had to pay the highest price in order for other Christian leaders to walk the path as well. If you say rejected, the rejected has a lot to do with the process. For instance, if you position yourself in a manner that you are able to be elected, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are the one that God has accepted. Because I can organize people that can vote for me using scrupulous manner, and it happens all the time on the African continent. It does not mean those are accepted more by God and the people than Nevers Mumba, who lost an election because the electoral process was against him or the position was against him. Let me give you an example. President Michael Sata died under the Patriotic Front, and there were many people that wanted to stand and succeed him. President Lungu was hardly known, and from nowhere, without any history of holding any aspirations or any ambitions for president, he became president. They voted for him, although the Zambians didn't know him. So it doesn't mean that because he was better positioned to become, that those who have fought to become and have not yet become are rejected. Absolutely not. The moment you look at it that way, then you would have never finished school, because the journey to where you're going is a journey with many pitfalls, many fallings. The Bible said, 7 times you shall fall, but 7 times you shall rise again. As long as I'm able to rise up again, I'm stronger the next time I stand up. I'm stronger the third time I come up. That is why now I concentrated on ensuring that we create a movement where integrity and morality in the electoral process is insisted upon. Because if there is rigging, people like, including my friends in the church who are coming to join politics, they will not make it, because they have to learn the schemes of rigging in order for them to stand a chance to win an election. But I think that we are pushing enough the ECZ to realize that without a fair referee, we are going to end up with governments that are not serving the interest of the Zambian people, but the interest of themselves. So for me, I don't look at it as being rejected. I look at it as being prepared for the presidency. Joseph went through it. Daniel went through it. Jesus himself went through it. He failed on the cross to keep himself alive. He died. But on the third day, he rose again. And up to this day, he's King of Kings. So I have never complained about failure, because failure is not permanent. It's very temporal if you stay with it.
There have been calls by Zambians to say these leaders from the churches, the pastors who are forming political parties or running political parties, are misleading themselves, because politics and Christianity cannot move together. Reverend or Bishop or Pastor Mumba should just concentrate on preaching the word of God. Bishop Mwamba should concentrate on preaching the word of God. But them coming to the political arena, which is full of insults, full of deceptions, full of dishonesty.
But can you really say that, Kelvin? Are you really happy about the insults, disrespect? You seem to be glorifying the politics of insults.
This is what is happening.
Yeah, but do you like it? Do you like it? Is that what you want for Zambia and for your children? No. Let's be. I know I'm not supposed to ask you.
I'll say this is not what I want.
Exactly. So let's do what we want. What we want is righteousness.
Who is going to be preaching in church?
Who's going to be preaching in church? Has God ever been short of preachers? God creates all of us. I was vice president of this country. I preached every Sunday. More people got saved as I preached as the vice president. When I went to Tanzania for a SADC meeting, they heard that the vice president of Zambia is a pastor. I was invited to an assembly of God. It was jam-packed with the outside. People were everywhere. Why? Because their thinking was, this vice president is a man of God. If he has chosen to follow Christ, who am I not to give my life to Christ? When I made the altar call in Dar es Salaam, I will never forget the multitudes that responded to the gospel. So this issue of limiting God, that the only one who can preach in a crusade is Nevas Mumba, is not true. God has servants everywhere. Before I was born, there were preachers. When I die, there will be preachers. So do not limit God to an individual, two individuals. God is the one who sends us to take righteousness where there is no righteousness. He's the one who takes us, who uses us to take light where there is darkness. And there is no righteousness in the politics of Africa mostly. That's where we have to take it. There's no light in most of the African politics. That's why I encourage more believers and leaders of faith to get involved in the political process. Then we should not have declared Zambia as a Christian nation. Are we mocking God? Are we doing it as a way of political mockery, that we're a Christian nation, then we cheat, we lie, we steal, we corrupt? Is that what we want? I do not think so. We are reformers, making sure that Zambia lines up with the declaration that we ourselves have made for ourselves. And the only way to align this country to the declaration we have made for ourselves is to ensure that God-fearing people are in charge of running the affairs of this country so that they can fear God when it comes to serving his people.
Doc, others will say from the time that we started seeing men of God joining the political arena by running political parties, issues of corruption, issues of insults, issues of violence have continued to be on the rise. So even if we've got pastors running political parties, but the status quo has remained the same, or better still, it has worsened.
That's not true. And you must understand that we are in our very infancy as the church developing to this process of getting involved in the political process. It's a very simple scripture. You are the salt of the earth. Meaning that if you put this salt in the earth, you give taste to the earth. The Bible says you are the light of the world, talking about the believers. So once we take the light into the politics, we expect that there's going to be light there. But it doesn't happen overnight. And this is the thing that I want to talk about to those of you that celebrate politics of filth, politics of corruption, and say this is the way we want it to be, and this is the way it shall always be. It will never change. I want to submit that yes, Zambia shall be saved. Because they used to tell us, when I started preaching the gospel 40 years ago, they used to tell us that Zambia cannot change. Zambia is just a secular state, a heathen nation, and all your efforts will not mean anything. Today, 40 years later, I look back at the Zambia that we have today. It is not the same Zambia that I found. It has changed. In the same way that Zambia has changed, the hearts of people are changed. That is why I believe that come this election in August, there will be an upset that a lot of Zambians are not expecting right now. Zambians think the ones who are going to win are these, they're going to win. But the Christian body in this country has had it, and they would like to place righteousness on the throne. And I believe that they are going to overturn the way the election is going to be. Because when a Christian votes, he doesn't vote, true Christian, he doesn't vote according to his tribe. He doesn't vote according to his political party. He votes on righteousness. And I am appealing to every believer. This country has been dedicated to God. As we vote in August, let's make sure that we support what Scripture says about what he wants to see in this nation. Righteousness exalts a nation. And therefore, I want to I've differed a little bit with you, Kelvin, there. I know that's not what you mean, but I know it's dark, but there's enough light to make the dark politics light up again.
And we are going to achieve it.
We are going to achieve it. And my prayer is that let's achieve. We almost have achieved it. We are almost achieving it, because all that is left is that we have failed to deal with this political leadership and encourage this political leadership to be God-fearing, not for a week, not for the sake of politics, but to be God-fearing from their hearts. Once that begins to happen, we are going to see how Zambia shall stand up as a lighthouse on this continent. I seriously believe that we are about to see an explosion of God's glory in this country. Even the prosperity of our country is tied up to the morality and integrity of the leaders that are taking Zambia to the next level.
We have seen political parties forming alliances. Should be two at the moment that we can talk about. We saw the opposition alliance, now it's called the UPND alliance, and we've seen a new one called the Kwacha alliance. And in all these alliances, we don't see the New Hope movement for multi-party democracy being in an alliance. Are there any plans of the New Hope getting into an alliance before August elections?
Well, I think we made it very clear the moment that we won the case in the High Court that we will be exempted from the talk of alliances. While our friends were running for 3.5 years, we were in court. Our membership was waiting for the conclusion of these legal matters. So when we got the party back, our responsibility with my leadership was to ensure that we mobilize the party, get the forces back together, give hope back into the structures of our political organization, encourage our membership to be strong and get ready for 2021 August. We did the elections at different levels. We inspected our structures. We ensured that our party was remobilized back together. And it's not the first time that we have done this. 2021, I inherited a political party as president, which was disillusioned because we just lost an election. I worked hard together with my colleagues in the NEC to make sure that we remobilized and started to win by-elections because hope came back to MMD. We were attacked in 2014 when our party split into 4. And after 2015 election, I had to start to rebuild the MMD again. It went into 4 directions. If you remember when President Rupiah Banda came back to the party and that, to run again, that created that challenge that we had. But it's behind us now. For 3 times, in fact, on 3 occasions, we have rebuilt this party. So it is not new for us to be able to do what we have done now. So I can assure you that we could not talk about alliances because our preoccupation was to rebuild our party. Now that it is rebuilt, we are having a major National Executive Committee meeting this week where everybody is coming together to now map out the strategy for the rest of the year or up to the election time. The following weekend, we enter into the National Convention. It is the last place and the highest organ of our party, in which now we are going to agree on everything and endorse and ratify all the decisions we've made as a National Executive Committee. And I believe at that time, we are able to start to make decisions if any decision of an alliance is brought to us. For now, we are focused on the National Executive Committee this weekend. We are focused on the National Convention in the next weekend so that we can tie this thing together. And the National Convention will have leeway to make any proposals as to how we wish to approach 2021 August.
If the National Executive Committee propose that we go into an alliance with the existing political parties, are you able to point at any political party to say this is a political party that we can work with to bring sanity in this country?
I think you understand how the movement for multi-party democracy works. It's a very democratic party. There are certain parties that I've heard presidents make statements on behalf of the National Executive Committee on a matter that has not yet been discussed by the party. MMD doesn't work like that. Since 1991, MMD has never worked like that. MMD works in a collective manner. We have not yet tabled that. So we are going to start to table it this weekend at the National Executive Committee, but we cannot conclude it since the convention is on its way. We would rather leave such issues with the convention. So I cannot point at anything at the moment, because the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, the National Executive Committee, or the convention has not made that decision. I am chairman amongst friends and colleagues who have a say as to how we proceed as a political organization. In fact, the reason why I've survived, one of the reasons why I've survived as president of this party is because I have always respected the decision of the National Executive Committee. I have never, ever tried to usurp their authority. If I did, they would have thrown me out or would have lost the cases in the courts. So I try to be extremely careful to depend on collective wisdom and not a singular wisdom of Nevers Mumba. And once the National Executive Committee decides, Kelvin, it's done. You know, whichever way they decide, they are the body that decide that. In 2016, the National Executive Committee sat down and decided to go to UPND. And the party went to UPND. This time around, we are determined to run as a political party in August ourselves as a political party. That's why we are prepared, and we are now making members of parliament. They are coming to register and get ready to participate. But if there will be a motion to ask ourselves, do we need an alliance? We first need to agree that yes, we do need an alliance. Then the second resolution will be with which political organization or political organizations that we can partner with in order to serve the interest of the Zambian people. Remember, my involvement in politics comes from a long way when I say Zambia shall be saved. So I'm not going to get in any configuration that will leave the Zambians behind. My commitment is to the Zambians. Whatever alliance we get in, if we have to, must be an arrangement that highlights the plight of the Zambians and starts to solve the problems of the Zambian people. Nothing to satisfy my own personal desires or those desires of my National Executive Committee. It must serve the interest of the smallest, youngest, and poorest Zambian so that my life can count, that I shed a tear, extended a hand to the poor in my country and make my country a better country.
The issue of attracting prominent members to contest or to stand on a party ticket is also paramount. We have seen the UPND inviting applications from people that want to stand on the UPND. We have seen also the PF, even if they haven't yet even gone to the convention, but they have already started receiving applications from people that are showing interest to stand on the PF come 2021 August. But with the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy, it seems to be silent. And it seems people are not even interested to stand on the New Hope.
You know, Kelvin, the way you deal with MMD, be rational about the party. Don't be after this party. This party has brought to Zambia things that have never been brought to this country before. So do not always say no one is interested. We have people that are already campaigning in their constituencies. In Lusaka, almost every constituency has one or two of our members campaigning. We have applications that have come, although we have not started to receive them because we have not announced on the day of our nomination of members of parliament in their constituencies. So I don't know where you're getting this thing, that these people are not coming. This is not for us to be telling you this one has come. You, if you're interested as Muvi TV in this matter, before you ask in that way, you should have come to the office and say, what is happening in the members of parliament? You understand? So that you understand what is moving on. The only day you are going to know who is standing on the MMD ticket is on that day when we receive the applications and make them public. Okay? Because right now there are many candidates. In one constituency, we have several candidates. So we cannot announce one until we choose one from amongst them. It's this thing that I'm finding with the media, that you seem to have a problem with MMD. Every time it's MMD is not doing this, MMD is failing. But the problems are in every political.
Not at all. I've given examples of political parties that have opened up and they have written to the general public.
Yes.
Those who are interested, come. President Hadkalama, we have seen it.
Yes. But you didn't mention him here. You mentioned only PF.
I've mentioned PF.
Now you have mentioned, and I'm glad that you have mentioned Hadkalama because that's the position. So we have already announced for the election, for the members of parliament. It was in the newspaper. So we are also, after the National Executive Committee this Saturday, going to run more adverts for those that would like to be part of our members of parliament.
How is the response so far?
Very good. Very, very good. Yeah, very good. And you will be surprised to know that there are people that have already made up their minds, although they belong to other political parties, to come and run on the MMD ticket. Look, what Zambians were waiting for was peace to return to MMD. Our bad performance and our difficult times in the past number of months and years has been simply because Zambians want to vote for a political party that is united, a political party that is at peace. And as long as we're having those turbulent things, a lot of people backed off. Now, God has given us peace. God has given us rest. And the Zambians now realize that now there is unity of purpose back in the movement for multi-party democracy. Therefore, it should be a political party with great interest, because we are getting phone calls today. I got phone calls from PF members who are saying we are eyeing to stand on the movement for multi-party democracy. And it is true, because not all the 7 in Kanyama or 10 in Munali who are vying for that seat are going to be adopted by the Patriotic Front. You get all these people wanting to find out how can they execute their vision for those constituencies. So there is a lot that is out there, and we are open to work with as many people as long as they have got a heart for the constituencies and they've got the fear of God. There's morality and integrity in their hearts to serve the Zambian people. So yes, we have been concentrating on the convention, and that is why you haven't heard us talk more about the members of parliament, but they come almost every day to the office to make inquiries and to be recognized.
When after the court judgment, you extended a hand to those that had left the MMD and those that found themselves on the wrong side of the MMD to say, come back, this is your party. Let's talk about the 3 serving members of parliament who were also expelled from the movement for multi-party democracy, Honorable Howard Kunda, Honorable Kawanda, and Honorable Peter Piri. If these people today were to come back to the party and say, we want to reconcile, is there room for them to be readmitted to the party and even apply to stand in their respective constituencies?
If there's anybody who understands what it means to be expelled, it's Nevas Mumba. I was expelled from MMD when I challenged President Levi Mwanawasa in 2005. It's a very simple process to get back to the party. Very, very simple process. Whether you're suspended or you're expelled, the process is to go back to the party and say, sorry for what I've done. I'm ready to recommit myself to the values of our party. And that's what I did. Actually, I went to State House and sought for an appointment to President Levi Mwanawasa. And I said, sir, I'm sorry if I offended you in any way, but I would like to come back to the party. Now, President Levi was a tough man, but because he saw my genuineness, my contrition of heart, and he said to me, Nevas, who am I to stop you? He called Katele Kalumba, who was National Secretary, and gave instructions that Nevas is here. Please consider bringing him back into the fold. So there's no one in MMD who would stop anybody with a proper heart who wants to come back home. This is their home. They misbehave, they are punished, they are disciplined, but they are our children. They are welcome any day. It's like you, Kelvin, if you're my son and you get out of the way and I whip you, and Muchifukushi, you go and live with the neighbors and say, Shakatalenka boilekunga ndakumwan. After some time, like the prodigal son, you're going to start to consider, here I'm only a visitor and I'm suffering. I want to go back to my home. MMD is a home for many. And do not listen, those of you that are out there, don't listen to the lies of those that say Nevas and his National Executive Committee have closed the party against you. It's open. I extended this olive branch together with our National Executive Committee on the 5th of November, the same day we won the case at the court. So I think that to answer your question, MMD is an open house, not only for the members of yesterday, but also for those who wish to come and join us as we go towards August this year.
You've talked about the MMD, that the MMD has done a lot. They brought multipartyism into this country, democracy, and also the economy. You talked about the economy was doing well when the MMD was in power. Today, as we are speaking, the kwacha to a dollar is about 21, 22 kwacha. The economy is on its knees, and the president even last year did admit that our economy is doing fine, and that is why he even launched the economic recovery plan. Up to now, it seems the PF haven't done well when it comes to the issues of the economy. Where do you think they're missing it? And if MMD was to be given that mandate or that vote come August to say, come back to power, where do you think you can touch in order for you to improve the economy?
There are a number of things. First of all, it is true to acknowledge that we are in an economic crisis. As a pastor, I like to start with the way the problem is. If somebody is lame, I have to accept he's lame before I pray for him to walk. So I am a realist when it comes to the state of our nation. We are in an economic crisis. But because of time, if the moment MMD comes into government, we're going to do what we have done before. The greatest problem we have today is the debt burden that we have contracted as a nation and are trying to carry. We found a debt of $7.2 billion as MMD. And under Levi Mwanawasa, may his soul rest in peace, he said to us as cabinet, over and over, he said, colleagues, if we don't deal with this debt burden, we will leave office without delivering in terms of an economy that is robust, an economy that supports the poor, an economy that provides jobs, an economy that attracts investment. We can't get there until we bring this debt down. It is during that time, and I thank God for the rest of the cabinet of Mwanawasa, more especially Peter Magande, who was our Minister of Finance, because he fully understood that we had to deal with that debt. We had to restrict our expenditure, public expenditure, to such low levels that we received the recommendation, the support of the lending external organizations that believed that we had employed effective fiscal discipline in order for us to improve the economy of our country. So it is because of that that we reached the HIPIC completion point and almost demolished the entire debt stock. At that time, we were able to reinvest the money that we're spending on servicing our loans with their interests and reinvest it into the social sector, which is education, health, and also to continue to improve on infrastructure. So we'll do the same. We will bring fiscal discipline in public expenditure. We'll ensure accountability. We'll ensure that corruption is the thing of the past. Levi Mwanawasa did two things. It's only now that I see the wisdom in what he did. One of the reasons he asked me to be his vice president, when he called me on the phone, he said, Nevers, I want you to help me as vice president because when you were campaigning, I heard you talk about or against corruption. He said, my fight against corruption is a serious fight. Can you come and help me? We partner to fight corruption. So his fight against corruption is what created the fear in the civil service, everywhere you went, for people to be corrupt. So that allowed the systems to start to have some integrity. The second thing he did was to bring down the debt through the HIPIC completion point, through fiscal discipline, reduce spending, and ensuring that we concentrate on bringing down the levels of public expenditure. Coming into government, I'll deal with the debt almost immediately.
You've talked about corruption and accountability. Are you insinuating or are you suggesting that these things are missing with the current administration at the moment? And that is why you're proposing that when you come into power, you'll be able to deal with the issue of corruption and accountability?
Well, I think that every administration has had corruption issues. I am suggesting that this administration must put its hand down like a steel hammer. Anybody that is implicated in any corrupt action, suspended from office until the investigations are over. There has to be that brutal response. For instance, not too long ago, we have been seeing a lot of people with kwachas online, playing around with money and stuff like that, and claiming that they belong to the ruling party, and they're giving people publicly money and all that. I think what the president needs to do is to stand up and make a statement and say, never again, and anybody who is seen flaunting money in that manner, the agencies that are responsible for security agencies must pursue those people. And once they are arrested, we want public process of prosecuting those people, so that a message is sent that you can't do that and get away with it. Because corruption is at many levels. If I come and I give you 300,000 or maybe 20 kwacha so that you can vote for me, it is corruption. You're corrupting the mind of the voter. So I think we need to show more concern about how we fight corruption, so that Zambians can get the idea that if they catch you being corrupt in this country, like happens in other countries, they kill you, or they amputate your hand with straw. They do those things in order to teach a lesson. I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but I'm just trying to tell you there has to be something you do to stop corruption. And I think that we can do much more than we are doing right now.
The Patriotic Front came on the scene and managed to remove the MMD from power by promising that they are going to put more money in people's pockets. They are going to create more jobs. They are going to lower the taxes. Today, we have seen them, say, departing from their ways of saying they are a pro-poor party, because we've seen members of parliament and those that are aspiring giving out money or dishing out money to members of the public. And recently we saw the minister in charge of national guidance saying that is not the right thing to do. As a man of God, as a pastor, who is also a leader of an opposition political party, what do you make of leaders going to markets and dishing out money and having it in mind to say this is a pro-poor party? Is it the right thing to give to the poor in such a manner? Or you agree with the Reverend and say this is not the way to go, we need to respect this amendment?
Distributing money to the poor, taking advantage of the poverty levels in this country, is one of the most unchristian acts. Because some people think it's Christian for you to give to the poor the money that you're giving them, so that as though you're going to give them tomorrow again and the other day again, so that they can have a sustenance of their lives. I think it is important to notice that the reason why government exists is that within its structure, it has systems within which it could develop the nation, number one. It could improve the quality of life for the Zambian people. It could provide the services. It could also invest that money in production for millimil so that the cost goes down. That's how you help the poor, by making sure you use the government machinery and channels of supporting the citizens to ensure that all of them are receiving equitable support. Going to the market, giving money to the people on the streets is as dreadful as all these monies we've been receiving from the so-called wealthy nations. Are our countries better? No. The moment you get hooked on eating donations and stuff like that, you will never work. And Zambians need governments that can improve wholeness of their lives, not to be given 5 kwacha. That's an insult, because you're taking advantage of the poverty of your people in order for them to feel good about you, to vote for you tomorrow. That's how you keep poverty and the poor people. It's not Christian to corrupt the minds of people with 10 kwacha. And I have said that we are a Christian nation. If you want to help a community, help it. If you want to help an individual with money, you don't have to have cameras in front of you. You find out they have got a problem, nobody stops you from dipping it. I do that. Somebody cannot pay their school fees. Somebody cannot send, of course, their child to the clinic. And I am the one on the spot. And they tell me, I put my hand in my pocket and I tell them, you go, but I won't put it on camera. Because that's not the...
Why do you think they're putting it on camera?
I think it's for politics. I think it's for politics.
And this is the way to go?
It's not the way to go. And we must stop it. If we don't stop it, we have a corrupt nation. We have a corrupt society that corrupts the minds of our people without improving the quality of life for our people. MMD, being in government, we shall do what we did last time to ensure that we produce food, enough food, at affordable prices for all of our people. We work hard to ensure that job market is flooded so that our young people can leave university, can leave their schools, and find something to do to develop their families. That's our goal.
Doc, as we conclude, issues to do with violence and tribalism, you've talked about Christians don't vote for tribe.
They should not vote
They
for
should
tribe.
not vote for tribe. And issues to do with violence. August is just around the corner. What is your message? We've seen the president condemning or speaking against tribalism, speaking against violence, but the issue has continued. Our colleagues on Chete FM were attacked by alleged, cadres from a named political party. What is your message as a leader of the opposition and also as a man of God when it comes to issues to do with violence and tribalism? Because the president even made it clear to say it is us, the politicians, that are perpetrating issues to do with violence and tribalism.
First of all, let me make statements at two levels. Level number one, Zambia should have no tolerance for two things: violence and tribalism. It's totally unnecessary in 2021 and moving forward. We condemn it as MMD. That's why we don't participate in violence. You will not hear that I'm inciting anybody to go and injure someone else's child in order for me to make political progress. It is not political progress. I think that's barbarism and something that is condemned in the scriptures. So I call on all my friends in the politics. We get angered all the time. We get angry all the time. But let's not go to amputate each other's legs and to injure one another. Violence, political violence is out. But we need to go further than that. We need to find out what is the root of this violence. What brings this violence? One of the things that I've been talking about all the time is the electoral process of our country. To the ECZ, make sure you are fair referees. It's good for PF and it's good for the opposition. Do not think that you're supporting the ruling party by doing that or supporting an opposition party by being unfair in the manner that you conduct the elections. If one political party can have a rally, a big rally, when COVID-19 is rife, and the Minister of Health has directed that political parties should not gather huge crowds of thousands without masks and social distancing in the time of COVID. But you watch television, including Muvi TV, and you see all these crowds with politicians, and nobody is challenging them. Now, another political party wants to do the same. The Public Order Act comes in. Ministry of Health says, go and get a certificate. You can't have that meeting. So how do you go to an election with that unfairness? It's that anger that is created under those circumstances that result in violence. Not everybody is a Christian. Not everybody is born again to avoid violence. And I'm saying the referees, the police, must be fair. ECZ must be fair. And government must be fair in everything that you do. Don't only give contracts to those who belong to your party. Give contracts to Zambians who qualify to perform that job. Those attitudes and that fairness and godliness is what will reduce violence. Just for us to stand as politicians and say we condemn violence in the strongest terms, it doesn't solve violence. Let's solve the root of violence. And the root of violence is a lack of fairness in how we are carrying out business. The moment we take care of that, the levels of violence will continue to go down because everybody feels they are participating in the affairs of their country equitably. And I think that is important for us. Tribalism is the same. Tribalism does not make you look like a sensible person. Tribalism is not something you can use to fight any battle because you need to use your head, your heart, to solve problems, not your tribe. And therefore, that's why I'm saying Christians, when it comes to August voting, please make sure you vote for righteousness and not your tribe, because a tribe cannot guarantee you what God wants to give to you, but vote because that person is able to perform and look after God's people.
Doc, thank you so much for making an appearance on The Fairness.
Thank you so much.
To see you soon.
Well, Kelvin,
wishing
it's
you
up
all
to
the
you.
best and congratulations for going unopposed.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. May God bless you, Kelvin, and our blessings are with you as Muvi TV.
My guest has been Dr. Neva Sequila Mumba, and this has been The Funnest. My name is Kelvin Dabola, Chief Focal. Join us again next week, same time, same place. Many thanks to Mavuto Piri, the director, and also the producer of the program. Good night.
Good night.